Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host, HC, and with me are...
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
So 30 episodes of this thing, so you know what that means. Every 10 episodes, we read a fanfiction. And you voted, all one of you, and you decided that we shall read my Valka backstory fanfiction. Which also makes sense because, last episode was about Valka, so if we already charted that water, why not go full force? So the way this is going to work, we are all going to read the paragraph pretty much. Rush will do some voices for us, and I'll try as well. Wolf, I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Fair enough.
And in case you, the listeners, want to follow it, I'll put a link to the story in the description of this episode. So, without further ado, you guys sure you're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just one note because I reread this before we started. I made a terrible typo somewhere in this. So can we please not make too much fun of it because it will be way too easy.
So make fun of it, okay.
Alright.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Second time kidnapped. HCSP1, my Valka backstory fanfiction, because I thought it was a good idea. Anyway, who's starting?
You go first. It's your... you get one word at the beginning of your fanfiction.
I get one word. Dude, the first paragraph is huge.
Oh, I was thinking about the... Okay, yeah, sorry. You read the first paragraph then.
Okay. Here we go. They say that one who has lived for so long in a cold environment would eventually become resistant to the freezing feeling of being surrounded by ice. Oh, sorry, this is one of my frozen fanfictions. Wait a minute. Okay. They also say that one is the same as those he grew to live with. You can either live with others in a society and draw your behavior patterns from your family or friends. You can live by yourself in a different environment with little to no remorse from those who surround you, or you can live most of your life with creatures you were once told were the enemy and study their many secrets until you end up being somewhat like them.
This woman has lived through each of the above examples.
The kidnapped, recently abducted, future chief's bride-to-be, mad, the bearer of a next leader, crazy feral vigilante dragon lady, she was referred to as all of those, but she only answered to one name. The same name she was given ever since she was born, in her very first home by her very first family.
Valka.
The young 14-year-old brunette girl was woken up by a slightly older girl screaming her name. "Come on, Valka," Mother says. "Breakfast is ready," the older sibling of the two called.
I'll be right there, Anzi. How do you pronounce her name? Or how would you pronounce it?
I looked for Viking female names. This popped up. I thought,
I'd say
that's
Asni.
fitting.
Yeah, it's alright, Asni.
I think it's Asni.
Alright, Asni. I'll be right there, Asni, Valka yelled back before throwing her blanket away from her body and getting out of her wooden bed. She still wore the same blue tunic that she always wore along with her regular brown skirt while she slept. So all she had to do was fix her hair into its usual braid before heading down to see what her mother wanted.
Once down, Valka saw both her slim mother and Asni, her older and a bit more muscular sister. It will make sense, trust me, I hope. Eating their breakfast. The family father wasn't eating with them and Valka feared that something might have happened. "Where is father?" she asked her mother, who just took a bite of her fish.
"Already out," she answered while chewing on her meal. "He had to leave early today, so we ate long before you woke up. He couldn't wait for you to get up, as the rest of the blacksmiths were already here to pick him up."
Valka's head fell as she realized that she had missed her father before he left for his work. Again.
"Don't feel bad," Asni told her. Father still likes you, even if you wake up too late, the older sister giggled, managing to bring a smile to Valka's face as she approached the table herself.
You still need to break the habit of waking up late, Valka, her mother told her. Once you're married, you'll have to wake up before your husband in order to prepare him his meal.
Foreshadowing?
Yes, Mother. Valka nodded. I'll try my best. Her mother nodded at her before continuing to eat. The rest of the meal went on pretty quietly until they all finished eating, and the girl's mother asked them to wash the dishes while she went on with her daily work as a seamstress.
Once you're married, you'll have to wake up before your husband, Asni teased Valka by mimicking their mother as they wash the dishes together.
Before I start, let's just note that there are plenty of girls speaking and no girl voices to be done to anybody listening. Just
Well,
saying.
you know, one thing people learn to know about the Berkcast, we are authentic.
Yeah. Alright, here. I'm sorry, let me do my authentic girl voice. Alright.
Oh.
The younger sister of the two rolled her eyes back, smirking at her older sister. Well, it's a good thing I'm not as close to being married off as you are. Valka mocked back, causing Asni to laugh.
I agree. Bravo. Anyway, Wolf, you are authentic.
Where are we? All right.
And
It's also a good thing. I can wake up at time. Asni replied with her own smirk.
Seriously though, Valka changed the subject as she was thinking about something. Are you afraid of knowing this day will come, being married to someone from the village and leaving home? She asked her older sibling.
Asni actually had a bit of time to think, or a bit of time in order to think about that question. Both her and Valka knew that there would be a day when both of them would be married to two different guys in their village, once they would be 16. But the unknown aspect of it started taking its toll on them once they were old enough to realize what it meant for them.
A little. I'm going to say I'm not scared at all. Asni shrugged. Mother told us many times how her and Dad's marriage turned out okay. Could have been better, but at least they like each other, she told her younger sister.
As opposed to the head of Kyrens and his wife, Valka muttered in a somewhat whispery tone, so that no one could hear her and report to said head of the island. Just a note, Kyrens I think is a name of something Australian, I'm not sure, and you know, Kate Blanchett is Australian, so... Fun fact.
You said it as a joke, but you're right, strangely enough. Asni laughed at her own joke while Valka used some of the water she was cleaning with to get her sister a bit wet. That reaction just proves that you agree
I
with
just
me.
now realized what I wrote. No. Anyway, continue.
That reaction just proves that you agree with me, and you do think you're done, Asni reacted with a smirk.
Whatever you say, Asni. Valka laughed, rolling her eyes.
Anyway, as they continued, I know most of the guys around my age who live here, and I don't think I particularly hate one of them in order for this not to work. Like I always say, you need to try and make the best of a situation. As they told her sister her thoughts on the matter. My main fear, however, is not seeing mother, father, and you a whole lot. She concluded her main worry about her upcoming marriage.
Hey, Valka put her arm around her sister's shoulder. We'll still be here, and I'm sure you will get to see us every once in a while. She tried to cheer up her sister, a smile appearing on both their faces. You'll just have to get used to us. You will just have to use the best opportunities given in that situation.
So you did learn something from me. Asni commented on how Valka just reused her motto on herself before hugging her sister.
The girl's parents might have a stable relationship, seeing how one can't do much with when it comes to random marriages, but the sisters were undoubtedly close to one another. Even though they tease each other and make fun of one's flaws, they are always there for one another, and they were sure that nothing will tear them apart. Not even the day Asni will marry someone from the village.
The rest of the day went on as usual. Both Valka and Asni had their usual chores to do, and both also had their bits of free times to do whatever they pleased.
One of the things they liked to do together was lay on the grassy fields near their home and look up at the sky. Valka always expressed her interest in seeing what it's like to fly and jump from cloud to cloud like these mythical creatures
Get
called
it?
dragons.
Jump from cloud to cloud? Cloud jumper? Please tell me that's clever.
No.
We're used to it.
That, Asni and she heard about in stories and legends. The dreams seemed to fade away when they got older, but to pass the time was still good enough for them.
Then, out of nowhere, it was heard. The sun was already down and it was almost time for dinner. On this time, the village's alarm horn was heard throughout it, causing the two girls to sit up and look at each other with worried looks.
Before the two, wait. Oh, sorry. I was wrong one.
Viking ships.
Viking ships are coming, men. Ready your weapons. Women and children stay hidden in your homes, the watcher screamed once he saw the ships arriving at the Isle of Kyrens. Kyrens? How do you say it?
I think it's Kyren.
Kyrens? Okay.
I think. Anyway.
Before the two were able to even process the words being spoken, the door to their home burst open. Asni, Valka, get inside, their larger father yelled. An axe hung around his back, and a bow was in his hand with an arrow at the ready.
Both sisters ran up to their mother, who engulfed them in her arms for protection. The father told all three women that he truly cares for them before hurrying up to join the rest of the men in stopping the Vikings from raiding the village. The sister's mother then hurried up to hide them in their usual hiding spot, the basement.
A Viking raid wasn't anything new to those living on Kyrens, nor were they all that frequent. But the few times when the barbaric warriors did attack and attempt at stealing their food or resources had the entire island on their best guard.
Asni and Valka were hidden in the basement of their house while their mother was keeping watch that no one would enter their home. That the feeling of being trapped in the dark may not have been new, but it still had them scared beyond compare. The sounds of the battle going on outside were somewhat audible, and yet not audible enough. Both had no idea what was happening outside of their house at the moment, but they were praying to whoever heard them that their father and the rest of the fighters will win against the Viking threat.
After who knows how much time, the girls managed to hear the sound of their home door being opened up. A smile was on their faces as they thought their father has returned from the fight. But the smiles were turned into questioning looks once they heard sounds of struggle going on inside their house. Could one of the Vikings have broken into their home? Was their mother fighting him? It sure sounded like that.
While hearing the fighting going on, Asni and Valka had no idea who was winning the fight. They just tried to stay as quiet as possible in order to not be discovered.
Eventually, the sound of a body falling down to the ground was heard. The sisters looked at each other with questioning looks. Who beat who? Was their mother okay? Valka was tempted to open the basement door and find out, but Asni stopped her. They didn't want trouble in case it was the Viking who had won.
After a few seconds, the door opened.
Asni and Valka were both greeted by a large guy with a messy brown beard who yelled at them upon discovery. The Viking took both of their hands and started dragging them out of the house, passing over their mother's bleeding body, which was impaled on a sword. The girls tried their best to resist the brutal man, but their efforts were no match to his massive strength.
I got 2 girls! The Viking shouted as he exited the house.
Yeah, you can do voices. Good.
That was terrible. Letting his fellow Vikings know they have gotten some good prizes from that raid.
The shout caught the attention of Asni and Valka's father, who was busy fighting another Viking. Realizing his girls were in danger, the men managed to find power to push the Viking aside and run in the direction of the kidnapper. But once he was close enough for a fight with the Viking who held his 2 daughters captive, an axe pierced through his head, killing him instantly.
Dad! They both screamed in horror as the Vikings laughed and pushed the girls into a bag, which they later threw on board of one of their ships.
The shout caught the attention of Asni and Valka's father, who was...
No.
Wait.
Both girls were scared.
Technically it did. Technically it did.
Yeah.
Both girls were scared. They didn't know what to do. Both of their parents were killed. They were now being kidnapped by Vikings, and they're heading to a place only the gods know what it contains. They are both crying, understandably, and hugging each other, trying in some way to comfort themselves after all they've been through just now.
But there was nothing they could have done to calm the sadness, pain, and fear they were both experiencing at the moment. Being trapped in a bag and constantly being told that they were the Vikings' prisoners and how much the chief's son and future second in command would appreciate them being their wives.
Thrown into the ship's bay, Asni and Valka didn't know what to say to one another. They just hugged and cried into each other's shoulders. Both eventually cried themselves to sleep. No mother, no father, and no home.
All they had now was each other.
How was it so far for you?
It's alright.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's interesting.
Okay. I'll take all right. That's good. Anyway, Valka and Asni had no idea how long they were trapped at the bottom of the ship. Days, weeks, maybe even months, they didn't know. They didn't even talk to one another ever since the day they were kidnapped, as both had nothing to say. They just stayed quiet, listening to only their thoughts and wishes.
Then they heard something. A deep and growly voice was heard screaming on the deck, telling his friends that they had arrived at Berk. Valka and Asni shared a concerned look at the mentioned arrival. The fear of what comes next visible in their eyes. They were kidnapped by Vikings and will now probably be bought as wives to some of those barbaric savages.
When they heard the wooden door to the ship's cargo open, most likely signaling that someone was coming to get them, Asni quickly grabbed Valka's hands and for the first time in however long it was after their kidnapping, spoke to her. No matter what happens, we are in this together. We will make the best of this situation. Not even a second passed before the sisters felt themselves being lifted into the air and being carried away from the ship.
After an unknown time of just seeing a bag from the inside, a bunch of muscular and hairy Vikings cheering on like a pack of animals which have been treated to a fresh new prey probably wasn't what you wanted to see. Judging by Valka's wide eyes as she was violently thrown out of her bag on the hard floor, Asni joining her in less than a second, she wasn't thrilled about that kind of a reception.
The sisters might have looked similar, but their expressions were far from the same. While Asni was trying her best to be brave and tough in front of Vikings, Valka wasn't even trying to hide her true emotions. It was visible to all that she was scared of them and what they might do to her, and they made sure to scare her as much as they could before a loud scream interrupted all the cheering.
Once the silence fell, Valka and Asni turned in the direction of which the voice came from. In front of them stood a very large man with an even bigger red beard which had a few knots in it. He also wore a cape made entirely out of fur, which contributed to his already giant size and gave the impression that he might have been the chief. The man was accompanied by two younger men. Both seemed to be around 15 years old. One of them had red hair resembling the large man, though he didn't have a beard due to his age. The other man had black hair, and lacked a resemblance to the man with the beard. Both boars were also pretty muscular, as expected from Vikings.
Can you guess which one is which?
Well, I know one is
The black-
loud.
The black-haired one has to be stoic.
Well, obviously. Anyway, the sisters slowly stood up in the middle of the hall in which the event was taking place. Asni proceeded to stand in front of Valka, protecting her younger sister from facing these evil men and sending a threatening glare at them. Valka was scared beyond belief, not much for herself, but for her sister. Was she trying to get killed or beaten up by these guys? What was she trying to accomplish with her aggressive attitude? True, Valka wasn't a fan of being in that place as well, but she also didn't want to get eaten by this giant human, if he could have been counted as one.
The large man suddenly raised his arms in order to get everyone's attention. "Bring me the older girl." With enough time to realize what he even said, two of the Vikings from the crowd grabbed Asni by her hands and brought her to the chief. The girl tried her best to break free of any grasp by constantly moving and struggling against them, but they were just too strong for her.
Asni, Valka called before trying to get her sister back, but two other Vikings grabbed her as well and pulled her backwards. Asni, no, she kept shouting as her older sister was brought in front of the chief.
The leader of the tribe examined this girl carefully. She had fire in her. He could have seen that. She appeared to be fearless on the outside, even though he could detect that she was scared by looking into her eyes. After some thinking, the chief spoke. Rush, do you want to read that line?
"Give her the spite lout. for she will carry his children. The Vikings threw Asni right into the grasp of the boy with the black hair. He grabbed her by her hands and pressed his body all the ways to hers. Don't be like that, he said with a sly smirk when she tried to get away. With my skills and your prettiness, we'd produce a fine heir to the Jorgensen house. He said slowly as he continued to press their bodies together, while Asni was trying her best to break free.
The chief then pointed his huge finger at the scared Valka, who was just getting more and more scared by the minute. Her sister was just forced into bringing a child to this world with someone she didn't even know and didn't care for by the looks of it. Thousands of thoughts were running through Valka's mind, but none stayed there for too long in order to process her reaction to what was happening.
Rush, that's your line. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I need to.
Give her the stoic.
The chief declared before Valka was pushed towards the boy with the red hair. She fell to her knees and landed on her hands in front of the boy she was apparently set to be with. When Valka raised her head from the floor wait, I'm confused. I wrote this.
It's your story.
Yeah. When Valka raised her head from the floor to this stoic, she noticed how he wasn't really all that scary up close. He even offered her a hand in order to help her get up. Valka accepted it, but the chief violently grabbed her by her tunic and threw her into Stoic's arms.
Excuse me.
And then the chief had a
Yeah,
stroke.
Yeah, exactly. We'll remember this day as the day when we found wives for our future chief, my son Stoic. A large cheer was heard once the chief mentioned his son's name, and his future second-in-command, Spitelout. Another cheer was heard as the chief signaled for everyone to leave and return to their homes.
When Stoic was about to leave alongside Valka, Spotlight walked past by him with Asni still struggling to free herself from him. You want to take that line, Rush, or am I just going to read it?
Alright, hold on, let me get in the character. I just gotta
If you
know
wanna
what I'm
do it.
voicing here. I know, I'll do it. Fitting how I got the better woman. Another sign of how I'm better in everything than you.
He told Stoic in a mocking tone.
Asni, Valka called after her sister, who was dragged away from her, but Stoic caught her hand when she attempted to run after her. The girl turned to sharply face Stoic, who shook his head at her. Okay, this is young Stoic.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
Alright. You don't want to mess with Spitelout, he told her softly, and much less aggressively than he expected. I know you might not believe me, but your sister will be alright.
This wasn't much of a relaxing note, especially when it came from a Viking who was most likely lying to her. But Valka couldn't do anything at the moment to help her sister, outside of praying and being strong.
It was another quiet dinner in the chief's house. I think the typo is coming, oh god. Yeah, the typo is in this paragraph.
Oh, I
my
see it
God.
already.
I have no idea what I was thinking and how I let that pass, but anyway, we'll point it out to the listeners, Anyway, sitting near the table were the chief of Berk, Stoic and Valka. All three of them were eating out of their plates and not sharing a single word. Valka was the one who did the cooking, as it was the woman who needed to cook. Oh god, for the family.
You did it twice. Twice.
Mm-hmm.
I did it twice, really?
Yeah, look at the next sentence.
Oh god, I can't believe myself.
For those who are
Okay,
listening
fast.
who aren't reading this right now, let's just say it this way. He replaced the second O of cook with a C. We'll let you read that out in your head.
Imagine.
Just
You can use your imagination.
Oh
Yes,
boy.
Exactly. A bit of tales from outside the US. Valka's voice here is actually more mannish than every other male character in the franchise, so maybe I was stuck with that voice.
So
I
maybe
don't
my
To be
voice,
fair-
maybe my voicing of her was more accurate.
To be fair, both misspellings of the word actually fit in the sentence to
They
a degree.
do.
That's what makes it so much better.
That's fine. Yeah. Oh. Man.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Anyway, Valka was terrified when she was asked to. I'm not even going to say it. The first night she was there, especially when the one to eat her food was the chief himself, and only the gods knew what he would do to her if he wasn't satisfied.
But, much to her relief, he seemed to like her food well enough. Neither he nor his son complained about what she had presented for a whole week now, so she just kept her mouth shut and did the exact same thing over and over again. Not once had she spoken ever since the ceremony of her and Asni's arrival, believing that one inappropriate word could lead her to trouble. She also barely saw Asni after that night, only getting a chance to pick at her and see if she's alright during the morning meetings in the Great Hall. She seemed healthy, but Valka could detect a few bruises every time she got a chance to look at her sister.
Once the meal seemed to come to an end and Valka was about to start cleaning up, a loud roar was heard outside, which caused the chief to get up from his chair. Dragons! I'm gonna be terrible at this, but alright. He shouted before turning towards Stoic. Stoic, hide the girl with the other women and children, and then gather a spot up and the rest to put down the fires, he commanded.
This is actually really good. I approve of this.
I'm gonna be terrible at it, but, that's what you get from me.
Yes, Dad. Stoic nodded before turning towards Valka and taking her hand. We have to go. I can't do the Scottish accents, so pardon me. He told her, but Valka hesitated to take his hand and trust him. I won't hurt you. I'm trying to save you from these dragons, he shouted at her.
Valka managed to see in his eyes that Stoic was serious about helping her. He brought her hand up for him to take. With her hand clenched in his, Stoic led her out of the house towards the shelter to those who lacked skill to fight dragons. As they ran, Valka's eyes widened. She saw Vikings fighting off actual dragons, creatures she had only heard of in stories and legends. Were they truly evil?
The way to the shelter was short, and Stoic and Valka reached it quickly. He opened the door for her and told her to get in and that he will pick her up once the attack ends. Valka got into the shelter, and the first thing she saw between all of the young children and adults who apparently couldn't fight was Asni.
Valka, her older sister screamed with glee as both ran up to each other and hugged, tears of joy starting to form in their eyes at the fact that both were all right.
The two sisters calmed down after a minute of nothing but hugging and whimpering against each other. Once they calmed down from the reunion, Falcon asked Asni how she was handling with the guy she was about to marry. The few bruises talked for themselves, but Asni insisted that she wasn't afraid of Spylo hurting her, and that she will continue to resist him. Valka admired her for her spirit, and for not giving the impression of being weak, something Valka herself was probably failing to do.
How's it going with you at the chief's house? Asni then asked. Valka told her that she didn't even talk to the two men she lived with, and just made their food for them. You made them food for a week and they didn't kill you yet? Asni asked mockingly. I'm impressed, she said with a smile, hoping she could lift both her and Valka's mood.
It seemed to work for a bit, but the sisters remembered that there were dragons attacking outside. I can't believe dragons really exist, Valka said regarding the creatures. Asni just nodded, not sure how to react to the fact herself.
It wasn't long before the attack was over, and the two sisters were separated again.
When they heard the shelter's door being opened, Asni and Valka hugged one more time as they knew it was time to say goodbye again. They did manage to mumble a promise that they will see each other again soon before Spylo came in and dragged Asni back to their home. Stoic came in not too long afterwards, holding his hand over to Valka to take. Are you okay? He asked her. Valka only nodded, not feeling the need to talk to him. Then come on, let's get you back home.
That's not my home, Valka said loudly in her mind, but she knew there was no way to see her old home again, so her mouth stayed shut. She did take Stoic's hand and let him lead her back towards his home. For some reason, holding to his hand felt comforting and not all that dangerous. She did notice that Stoic was a lot nicer to her than this awful Spylo was to Asni.
On the way back home, Valka noticed the burnt-down houses and places, assuming that this was caused by the dragons. She still couldn't believe that these creatures she'd heard about in legends and stories actually existed, just as much as she couldn't believe that they were apparently evil all along.
When they came back, the chief was already inside the house, and he seemed glad to see they were okay. Stoic! He called to his son with a huge smile. I saw how you took control over your entire team. Very impressive. We don't have a lot of damage to fix tomorrow. Great job, son. The chief praised his son, who had a satisfied look on his face.
So, Rashke, you want to do Stoic's voice for this?
Yeah, hold on. It's hard to do it when I have a smile. Sorry. That was really good, Wolf, by the way.
Yeah, great.
Someone showed me what a Viking can do once, Stoic said. I wanted to show him that he's right.
He finished with a smile aimed at his larger father, signaling how the man who told him what is going on with me? Signaling how the man who told him that was him.
It makes sense. It's just kind of confusing. The chief put a hand on his son's shoulder after what he said. You're going to make a great chief one day, son. And I'm going.
And apparently, I hate puberty.
Yeah. No, this is the chief. This is the
yeah,
actual
I know,
chief.
but
Oh
yeah,
right.
but
His
you're-
voice has changed.
I'm trying to do like different. I'm trying to do different voices. I mean, I can't just
Yeah.
make
I
them
mean,
all sound like
because
Stoic, right?
your chief voice sounds deeper than Wolf's chief's
Yeah.
voice,
Yeah,
so
'cause-
it just in that sense.
I was just
But
trying.
okay,
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know. Should Stoic be?
Gotta
deeper
keep
than
it the
his dad,
same,
right?
Rush.
Right. Fine. You're going to be a great chief one day, son, and I'm more than sure that baby which will come out of her, he pointed at Valka mid-sentence, will be a great addition to our lineage as well. He finished by hugging his son, proud of the way he handled the situation.
Shortly after, the chief retired to sleep, as he had to rest before the next day's matters would be his to worry about in the morning. Valka decided to stay for a bit near the fire instead of going to sleep, as she had nothing to do besides cooking the next day. Sitting near the glowing fire made Valka remember the days her and Asni used to sit near a small fire and tell each other stories. Where did those days go? How did they find themselves as future wives for a future chief and second in command on a Viking island, which apparently fought dragons?
as Valka was trying to set her thoughts straight, she held Stoic coming over to her. Her eyes widened. Oh, was he going to drag her into his room and force her to produce an heir now in order to please his father more? But then again, why didn't he do that earlier? Thoughts were running through her mind so fast until he stood beside her.
Are you okay? He suddenly asked, sounding like he genuinely cared.
Valka lightly and quickly nodded in response. Yeah.
So you can talk.
He suddenly said, causing Valka to look at him questionably.
It's just that you never talked outside of calling your sister the day you got here. I was starting to worry you were so scared you forgot how to talk.
He said somewhat jokingly. When he saw Valka turn away from him, Stoic thought he might have gone too far with that comment and sat down near her.
Hey, I'm sorry I hurt you. Just trying to let off some stress after tonight's attack. We haven't had one in quite a bit of time.
He told her.
What he said caused Valka to look at him again. In some time, like this dragon's attacking thing has been happening more than once.
Stoic looked at her with wide eyes. She just asked a full question after being complete mute for a whole week. Yes, for 2 centuries and more, as far as we are aware, he answered to a shocked Valka who struggled to believe. Why? Weren't there dragons where you came from? Stoic asked.
We only heard stories about them. No one believed that they were anything other than a mate where I'm from. But after tonight, I guess they are real. She answered for some reason. She started feeling like she's able to talk to this guy all of a sudden.
They're real, alright, Stoic muttered, turning from her to the fire in front of him. Cursed beasts trying to steal our food supply and have no mercy for us Vikings. This is why we must raid other places. That sentence made Valka think of something as Stoic continued. They killed hundreds of us in their attempts to steal food, but we don't give up. We will find out where they're hiding and take them all down. He said like he was promising Valka that, though she had a completely different way of thinking about the situation.
Do you know why they're doing this? She suddenly asked, surprising Stoic. They must have a reason for stealing your food, like you have a reason to raid other places.
Are you comparing us to these awful beasts?
Stoic suddenly raised his tone, sounding like he was about to hit her.
Valka's scared expression returned after the sudden change of behavior. I'm sorry, I was just trying to understand. Please don't hurt me, she begged him. A few tears started to slide down her cheeks. How could she think for a second that this guy would be any different from that awful person who probably hurts her sister now, and the ones who kill her parents? How could she be so naive?
I'm sorry, Stoic suddenly said and backed away, surprising Valka. I'm gonna try this. I just can't think of dragons being anything like us. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I won't, he said while looking at the ground.
You know, your stoic voice sounds a bit like a deeper voiced gobble,
Yeah.
and I love every second of it.
He has the more Craig Ferguson accent. I have the Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can nail
like,
that voice a lot better than that. Craig Ferguson I can do.
Yeah,
How about
Gobble
this? If
appeals-
anybody listening, if you want a Stoic and Gobbler back and forth for me and Wolf to do, write it.
Oh, good lord.
Awesome. I think Gobble does show up later, but I don't remember if I gave him any speaking lines, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway,
You're at I'm sorry too, Valka says.
I'm sorry too, Valka suddenly said, surprising both Stoic and herself. I didn't think before I asked you that question, she apologized. It's just all new to me here.
I know. He nodded at her.
For a few seconds, Stoic and Valka looked at each other's eyes. All of a sudden, Valka didn't see a Viking, but a human being, someone who has fears, expectations to answer, and an amount of care for his home and people, kind of like herself. During those few seconds, Valka even thought that marrying this man, like intended, wasn't such a bad thing, like she did at first. Maybe she was in fact lucky that it was chosen for her to marry Stoic. Valka even started to feel like maybe this was the best she could do in her situation, like Asni always told her.
After a few more seconds of silence, Stoic got up and was about to head to sleep as he had a few businesses to attend to his own the next day. Wait! Valka suddenly called, causing him to turn and look at her. Thanks for being nice to me ever since I got here and for helping me find shelter tonight during the attack, she told him.
Stoic could only smile. No problem. You're going to be my future wife one day, so I might as well keep you safe, he told her before heading towards his room.
Valka couldn't have believed what she had just heard. Did he actually refer to her as his future wife, as if an actual person, instead of the bearer of his children, a property? When Valka went to sleep that night, she felt like she really was lucky when she was given to Stoic. If only she could have made sure Asni's future husband would have been as considering as Stoic is. Then again, she remembered Stoic not being very fond of Spylout as well. Maybe she could try and use it to her sister's advantage.
Wait. Okay. Another quiet night has fallen upon the island of Berk. There were no dragon attacks yet again, and the villagers were happy about the last few days being divided of action and fighting.
One of the villagers counted towards the ones who didn't like fighting and always preferred that peace. It was none other than the chief's wife, Valka, who used the relaxing night to take care of her husband's newborn son. It was hard to believe that it had been 6 years since she was brought to the island and forced to marry the boy who now ruled the village, Stoic the Vast.
Ah, okay, so you're jumping time a little bit between each break.
Yep, jumping time.
Alright. Neat. Okay. Even though she was brought to him as a kidnapped girl from a faraway island and destined to be treated as something to produce an heir with nothing else, Stoic and Valka actually started to develop a strong romantic connection after being introduced. The chief at the time couldn't care less if the pairing would end up being a loveless marriage, but he wasn't complaining that this girl was taking a real liking to his son, and the other way around. The two have even written a wedding song to one another as a way of proposal.
The song you love so much, Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just to know, this was written before Burning Midnight, so the entire thing they said there, I didn't know. So, that's my defense.
Yeah.
Anyway, Valka herself also started taking part in the Berkcast traditions, such as being led by Stoic as a firefighter during the dragon attacks, taking a few fighting lessons from her father-in-law, and at the age of 15 she even attended dragon fighting lessons alongside Stoic, her sister Asni, and her awful husband, and an unfamiliar blonde guy with a missing hand and leg. I guess who that is. The later one tried making a move on her in order to impress his parents who were watching the first lesson, only for Stoic to grab his neck and claiming that she was already taken.
That's my wife you're talking to, you one-legged lout.
Yep. Yep, that's the line.
Alright, while Valka wasn't all that successful in these dragon fighting lessons, she did do well in her other activities, outside of cooking. According to her and Stoich's new blonde friend from dragon fighting, who claimed her meatballs could kill even the mightiest dragon, but it was all enough for Stoic. He loved her like there was no tomorrow, immediately jumping to protect her from any criticism or physical attacks. Valka also loved Stoic after she got to know him and see how different he actually was from the rest of the Vikings. He might have been the traditional muscular and intimidating look to him, but inside he was the nicest Viking she had ever met.
But outside of the conversations they had, the protection and care he gave her, and the touching wedding song, there was one thing Stoic had done which she was the fondest of.
On the day of their son's birth, Valka was scared beyond her mind. It's been less than a month after her sister gave birth to her own son, and now it was her turn to go through all the process and prayers of giving birth. Stoic, along with the rest of the village, were waiting for the birth of the next chief, while Valka was trying to keep calm throughout the process. She prayed, Stoic prayed, Asni prayed, everybody prayed for the birth of their child and her survival.
Eventually, he came out. Her and Stoic's son, the future generation of chief of Berk, has been born. So why was he so small?
Alright, I'm going to point something out here. Valka
Go
couldn't
ahead.
believe the size of her child was her recently born nephew.
Yeah, no, just keep reading
Snotlout.
the sentence. Snotlout was a reasonably sized for a Viking.
Yeah, it seemed a little off to go from talking about Hiccup to then Snotlout all of a sudden, but yeah, I get it now. Okay, I see. Anyways, Valka couldn't believe the size her child was. Her recently born nephew was a reasonable size for a Viking, so why not her own son? She could hear the disappointed muttering of the villagers, and she was disappointed in herself, too. How could the future chief be as small and fragile as her son?
Believing she has
I get it
disappointed
now, okay. Sorry, that was me being weird.
It's fine.
Wrong.
Believing she has disappointed everyone, she began crying against her baby's head. How could such a small thing survive in the dangerous world filled with dragons and other dangers?
It was then when Stoic came into her room and saw her in tears. With a fear his newly born son might have died, he rushed to see what was up. Valka, what's wrong, dear? He asked, holding her in her arms.
I failed, she said while weeping into his shoulder. I couldn't produce a reasonable heir for you, Stoic, she said while pointing to the baby. Look at the wee thing. How could he survive in this world? How could he be chief? She asked in grief.
Valka was surprised when, upon hearing her crying, Stoic wasn't angry with her. He kissed her forehead and asked what she was talking about.
Valka's eyes went wide in surprise at the question. I failed to bring you a proper heir. The baby is...
No, Stoic responded with a stern look, causing Valka to stop talking. He is a proper heir, I have no doubts about it, he told her, his voice booming at every word for clarification. With my strength and your skills, he would grow up to become the strongest of them all, he said while picking the newborn baby up, looking at its wide eyes and smiling at him before listening to the newborn's heartbeat. Like I thought, Stoic said. The heart of a chief, he declared with pride while raising the baby into the air. Our son, Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III.
Get all the references to the Stoic's ship scene?
Yeah.
Anyway, Valka couldn't have forgotten that day. She was sure no one would have accepted her after this embarrassing tiny child. But Stoic showed her that he didn't care and that he was sure their son would end up surprising all of them.
Indeed, she was lucky when she got Stoic as her husband that day. The only thing Valka was sad about was that the man her sister was chosen to marry. While Asni always showed Valka that she was fine and not at all suffering while living with her loveless husband, her younger sister wasn't convinced. She saw throughout the years how despicable Spylet was, only caring for the continuation of his legacy and nothing more.
Not once had Valka found her elder sister, trying to resist crying over the treatment she was getting from her husband. Stoic was trying to get Spyla to be more respectful to Asni, but the second-in-command didn't listen and always shrugged him off, declaring Stoic weak because of his emotions for his wife. When the day came and Stoic was made chief by his father, Spotlight was supposed to be his second-in-command. However, Stoic made his unlikely friend Gobber his second-in-command, believing Spotlight didn't deserve the honor.
Stuik was indeed one of a kind. Valka thought as she was holding her small baby in her arms, rocking him slowly until he'll fall asleep.
A week after her son was born, and a mere day after her nephew was welcomed into the world, Asni found herself in the middle of a dragon raid she will never escape from. She was running towards the nearest supply of water in order to fill her bucket and put out a nearby fire. Much to her dismay, a red dragon with a long neck and sharp claws pinned her against a building. Asni was unarmed, causing her to back up in panic to the wall. The dragon sniffed her for a few seconds before its wide, dangerous eyes changed into a more calm and friendly ones.
Asni, Valka called as she saw her older sister was in trouble. She ran towards her, too busy with her sister in order to pick up a weapon. Upon sensing her arrival, the dragon sharply turned towards her, and Valka froze. She looked at the dragon with both fear and amazement, seeing how it wasn't all that angry when it noticed both didn't have weapons.
The woman broke one spider, jumped on top of it, and tried cutting the dragon's head off with an axe. The dragon struggled with the man until it managed to grab him and throw him off of its back towards Asni's location. After fighting with the Viking, the dragon set itself on fire before breathing some of it at Spikeload. While he jumped away, Asni stood where she was, unprepared for the attack, and the fire started burning her body. Youch.
Asni! Valka screamed in pain as she saw her sister being burnt to death. Upon hearing the scream, the dragon noticed that the woman was no longer in front of it, and quickly realized what it had done. While bowing its head in shame for attacking a human which didn't mean it any harm, Spitelight took the chance to finish off the dragon for good by cutting through its neck with an axe.
Once the attack was over and the dragons left, Valka broke down crying. Her older sister's ashes slipping through her fingers, Stoic rushed in to see what was up, and he himself shed a few tears over the loss of his sister-in-law. The only one who didn't show much pain or sadness was Spitelight, who struggled at it. Bleh. The only one who... Yeah, I know. The only one who didn't show much pain or sadness was Spylout, who shrugged at it all and rolled his eyes at the possible thought of him raising his son alone.
Wait, I just need to... Okay. Good. Anyway, you, Valka said before getting up and running towards Spylout with anger in her eyes. You did this. She died because of you. She tried to tackle him to the ground, but his strength prevented her from doing much.
What are you talking about? He shouted before pushing Valka away towards Stoic. Stoic, what does your stupid little wife want?
Asni is dead because of you, Valka shouted, trying to escape Stoic's grab in order to attack this awful person. If you wouldn't have attacked that dragon, Asni would have been alive by now. It didn't cause her any harm.
Spylout rolled his eyes at his words.
For the love of Thor, Stoic, what is wrong with your wife? Dragons cause no harm.
He huffed.
No wonder her little brain produced only a laughable excuse for a Viking, let alone a chief.
Spylout spat at them before walking away, leaving Valka to cry over the loss of her older sister, while Stoic put his hand over her shoulder in an attempt to comfort her.
A week
passed. Yeah, you're right. I was confused too, because
yeah.
Just on the voice. A week passed, and while Valka was taking care of Hiccup, Stoic walked into the house and told her he needed to talk to her.
Valka, this is getting out of hand, he said with a sad face as he spoke. You stopping people from doing their job and killing dragons is just unacceptable. I know you experienced a terrible thing with Asni, and Spylout is indeed lout. But you just can't say dragons are good creatures, Stoic concluded.
I know what I saw, Stoic. That dragon didn't meant Asni any harm. The weapons probably scared them. We didn't have weapons that night, and it didn't...
Valka, this is enough! Stoic shouted, causing Hiccup to cry a little. Stoic calmed down and dropped his head.
Wait, we need to give Hiccup crying sound effect. That's it. I contributed my voice acting.
Wow, that mesmerized me so much I forgot where I was. Stoic calmed down and dropped his head. I really don't want to have this conversation, but I have no choice. The village is suffering because of that, and everyone keeps coming over to me and blame you for all that. I don't want you to be blamed for the awful deeds of these beasts, he said while a tear slid down his cheek and got caught in his massive beard. Just stay away from the fighting. These were the last words he said to her that night.
Of course he didn't believe her. Nobody did.
Another night came when dragons attacked Berk for food. Berk for food. And this night wasn't different than any of the other nights, as Viking ran to the forge in order to get weapons for fighting off the beasts.
Houses were burning, dragons were either flying or brought down, and one woman was running around against her husband's wishes and hopelessly trying to stop the war and prove what she believed in. Just as she walked out of her house, she noticed a Viking about to chop off a dragon's head with an axe.
Stop! You'll only make it worse. Valka screamed as she stopped the blow and the dragon got away. The Viking then snatched his hand away from her, giving her an unapproving look while doing so.
Suddenly, Valka noticed something. A large light brown dragon was breaking into her house through the window. Hiccup! She screamed in horror as she rushed to protect her recently born son.
Wow, HC, could you say this dragon was jumping from cloud to cloud?
Yep, he sure was.
Valka opened the door and drew one of the swords hanging by it. True, she was against killing dragons, but if one was to harm her son, she won't go easy on it and will show no mercy.
But when Valka was about to swing her sword and cut the beast's head off, she saw something that astonished her. The dragon wasn't doing anything to her son, it was just watching him. There was this innocent look in its eyes while it absorbed the clueless baby moving around in his cradle, cooing happily as he touched the dragon's nails.
That was it. She was right. Valka had just witnessed a visible proof to what she believed in. They weren't vicious beasts, but intelligent, gentle creatures.
Her mind was taken off that thought, however, when the dragon heard her and turned around, scratching the baby's cheek as it turned and causing him to cry. Valka realized that maybe she was indeed wrong and raised her sword again in defense. But the creature got closer and closer to her. She started lowering her down again. The dragon just looked into her eyes and did the same. Much to her surprise, she could have seen her soul reflected in its eyes. Valka just stood there for a few seconds, dumbfounded by the events she was currently experiencing.
Her discovery of the truth, however, was cut short by an axe landing right between her and the dragon, causing the creature to roar in fear and go for an attack. Valka, run! Stoic screamed at her as he got the dragon's attention from his wife.
The dragon proceeded to breathe fire at the attacker as Valka rushed in to stop the dragon from doing so. No, don't! She was too late as part of the house had started to burn down from the dragon's fire. The dragon turned to look at her angrily before slowly calming down as it saw Valka meant no harm to it.
Seeing his wife facing the dragon with no weapon, Stoic addressed her. "Hold on!" he shouted before leaping through the fire in order to get the crying baby out of his cradle. But by the time he had turned around to strike again, it was already too late.
The dragon suddenly jumped into the air, grabbed Valka by her hands, and flew through the opening. Flew through the opening it burned down. No! Valka screamed at it as she was picked up from the ground. Stoic! She screamed, hoping her husband would rescue her.
You could just read that.
Stoic called as he saw his wife being abducted by the dragon. He started running in the direction they were headed until he realized he couldn't catch up, no matter how hard he tried.
Stoic! She screamed again while being slowly dragged further and further away from Berk. The last thing she could have heard was Stoic whispering her name in grief and her little baby crying at the loss of his mother.
Valka has lived with her new dragon friends for many years now. She learnt the secrets of every breed, became more knowledgeable of the culture, and even met the mighty king of all the dragons, which kindly let her stay in its icy haven.
Throughout the years, Valka couldn't stop thinking about maybe trying to come back to Berk. She wanted to see how Stoic was doing and get the chance to meet her son, whom she wasn't there to raise. But every time she thought about jumping on her favorite dragon's back and return to her family, she started to think the Berkians would attack it without letting her explain anything. And she lost enough because of an innocent dragon being angered to the point it killed an innocent soul. She couldn't allow Stoic to get hurt because of her, or worse.
She couldn't let Hiccup get hurt because of her.
While living with the alpha dragon over the years, Valka did travel around the world with her dragons, even finding new ones every now and again. One day she came across a wounded dragon which hurt its wing. While checking up on it, she saw hunters coming in their direction. Realizing they were coming for the dragon, Valka ordered one of her own dragons to help it out by carrying it away on its back towards their sanctuary.
As Valka watched the hunters getting smaller and smaller, the higher she she and her dragons went, she thought she knew what she was going to do with her life.
She was going to save every dragon in need and bring it to the Owl's Nest. Someone once told her that it's important to make the best out of every situation, and that's what she was going to do.
She was going to save the dragons from hunting innocent humans. She was going to bring peace to the world.
The end.
All right.
So, feedback.
It's a good story. I just don't like the topic. I really don't like the whole Valka's a stolen bride idea. Never really did.
Okay. Legit.
I mean, yeah, I would agree. I don't think it's something that I'm hugely interested in, but I think it's well written, and I think it's a definitely good version of this idea. And I think,
well, thank you guys.
I think
Yeah,
you could
there's
fix
definitely
a certain typo.
Okay,
I would
let's
leave it.
forget the typo. Let's forget
I would.
the typo.
It works really well
It
in,
does
in those
work.
two sentences.
Yeah, it does. What are you talking about? There's no typo in there, wink wink.
Mm-hmm.
Nudge,
Totally
nudge.
Good
man.
comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's implying something entirely different when he says
mean-
cooking.
She is supposed to produce an heir, if you know what I mean.
Oh boy.
Okay, so that was the thing. Anyway, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. That's good to hear. Any questions you guys have?
No? Let's...
Okay, that's good.
Seeing
That,
if-
that
yeah.
means everything was understandable, except the few times where we lost where we
Basically.
need to read. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that was just something I had the idea for, and I said, why not? Let's give this a try. And overall, I'm happy with how this came out, except for that, the typo.
Yeah. What's even better is she
Uh.
didn't realize that there were two.
Yeah, I reread this a bit, like I skimmed through this in preparation, and I only cut it once, and I found out that I actually made that mistake twice because you told me just now, so that was even
Yeah.
funnier. Whoa. Anyway, so next fan fiction reading will probably be Wolves, I guess.
Yep.
That's something I want to say to the listeners. If you have any fan fiction you want us to read, either for just hearing us read it or just make fun of it or something, let us know. We are always happy
We have
to...
the Tumblr Ask page, so just send it a link in that.
Yeah.
Yep. Whatever you want, send us a link and we'll be sure to read it at some point. Anyway, this has been 30 episodes of the Berkcast. Can you believe we're at 30?
On that fanfiction thing, we should clarify we're probably not going to read like multi-chapter stories in one Berkcast.
Yeah. Multi-chapters will be a few chapters and we prefer one-shots.
Yeah.
We might say that. Anyway, so for the next 30 episodes and beyond, I guess, I was HC.
I was Rush.
I've been Wolf.
And if you want to talk to any of us, you can find us on either the Berk Fanfiction forums, we're all there. You can also talk to us on Twitter, Berkcast is capital B, capital C, and on Tumblr we are Berkcast Team. So thank you for listening and talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.